If we could go to item 24, page 269 for the Planning and Development Monthly Report for October. Questions? Hearing none, can we move on to the Agriculture Advisory Committee minutes of October 22nd, pages 277 to 282. So, question about the development permit areas on page 281. David, can you tell us what this is about?
The Agriculture Advisory Committee is suggesting that we should be incorporating ideas about development permit area guidelines, I guess, as part of the agricultural plan, area plan. But just to note that at least two of the existing official community plans include guidelines around protection of agricultural land reserve from subdivisions of adjacent properties that are outside the ALR. I think the West House Sound OCP has that policy in there, and the Roberts Creek official community plan borrowed that policy and brought it in. So those are in there. I believe the issue as part of the Area B Half Moon Bay OCP that was considered, but given that the bulk of the agricultural land reserve is in Crown land outside of the residential area, it was not seen as an item that needed to be a development permit area. But I'll just, if Director Knorr has more information on that, I'll concede that comment.
What the amount was their concern about their cataloging the LR.
This is about creating buffers between farmland and not farmland, is that?
Yes, that's correct. Sorry, I should have explained a little bit more. The idea is that if the private land that's not in the ALR is subdivided, that a buffer be created along the shared boundary with the ALR to ensure that no development, no building takes place. Obviously, you could have land clearing, whatever, but it's to make sure that you don't create a situation where you have a home located or a business located right on the boundary with ALR, and then farming takes place on the ALR land that might cause some concerns for the residential property adjacent to it that's now been created through subdivision, so that there's a little bit of protection and some landscaping that goes in, and there's some guidelines the Agricultural Land Commission has provided on that.
Director Turnbull?
So you mentioned that this is within our existing West House Sound OCP, correct? We did have a lot of conversation about this because we have a lot of ALR land and there is concern that there will be residential conflict. And back to page 277, the draft A zone. I attended this committee. I still have a fairly large concern that this committee is proceeding with conversations and suggestions that are coming up that seem disconnected to my APC for sure. They're still going, what is that and what is going on? And I see there was to be a draft workshop, hasn't been scheduled. So I'm not wanting to move forward on anything related to the draft A zone until everybody really understands what's going on. I'm hoping that's going to come up somehow. I know we have the agricultural area plan coming, but I don't think that's related. I'm quite confused about how this A zone is going to be, what the process is going to be from here forward.
Steve, can you comment on that?
I think that where we left off on this was to have a workshop, probably a workshop with the board first, but there still needs to be considerable discussion around the agriculture zone. with other work commitments, especially with the agriculture area plan and other items over the last month or so, we haven't really gotten to this one. So it's something that we still have to work on and develop a schedule for.
Okay, so there are two recommendations in these minutes. Page 279, recommendation number 1 was to forward this guide to edge planning to the Half Moon Bay OCP. And then recommendation 2 on page 280 is about sending a letter to SD 46 requesting that they consider agricultural resources for youth as a resource for their students. So does the committee wish to adopt either or both of these recommendations? Director Moreau?
I have a question. I think that, and I'll speak to recommendation number 2. I don't have a problem with us, the Regional District Board, sending such a letter as such, but I'm just wondering, would it hold at least as much, if not more weight, if the Agriculture Advisory Committee sent a letter? It doesn't have to be under the cover of the regional board. I'm just wondering if
They're
that's
not
true.
allowed to send letters on their own behalf, though.
Oh,
In their terms of reference, it's quite specific.
okay.
So, the letter could say that on the advice of the Agriculture Advisory Committee, we are sending you this letter. Director Turnbull.
I was there when they were having this conversation. There was some concern about some of the listing some of the magazines, because some members had not actually gone through them and they wanted to ensure they followed the policies that they valued. So I'm okay with sending a letter, but I would say Regional District Board send a letter to the School District Board requesting that the School District Board consider including agricultural resource material in their libraries for youth as a resource for its students, and I would stop there.
Period, yeah, okay. As amended, what about recommendation number 1, Director Knorr?
No problem.
Okay, so we'll
Madam
move up.
Chair, I would also add to recommendation number 1 that it go to all the APCs, because I think this is a piece of information which is quite related to interests at our table.
Okay, so recommendations numbers 1 and 2 as amended, moved by Director Turnbull, seconded by Director Knorr. All in favor? That's carried.